You're listening to Free Zone Radio. If you could seal up a single day from your hometown and open it 100 years later, what would you find? For Free Zone Radio, I'm Jason Crockett, and this is Second Stage. Well, good evening, folks. I'm speaking to you from Sparta, Tennessee. It's centered at about 35.925 degrees north, 85.464 degrees west. Thornton Wilder's stage manager would probably tip his hat at those numbers. He'd scribble them up on a chalkboard and remind us that coordinates tell you just enough to find a place on a map, although not nearly enough to understand it. This little dot here in the Upper Cumberland is the hometown of bluegrass legend Lester Flatt and the Confederate guerrilla fighter Champ Ferguson, and like a lot of small towns with big shadows, it hums with quiet stories most people drive past without ever hearing. For almost 20 years now, Sparta has been my daily drive. It's not the town that raised me, but the one where I've watched generation after generation grow up and move on, turning like chapters in a book. And after almost 2 decades of that ritual, you start to feel a bit like Wilder's stage manager yourself. Part narrator, part witness, part guide to the ordinary moments these kids won't realize were meaningful until long after they've left. And yet, here's the strange twist. Our Town, the play that was once staged in nearly every high school theater, has quietly slipped out of the spotlight. Football games stayed, prom stayed, pep rallies stayed, but Wilder's little masterpiece about small-town USA did not. So, tonight, we're asking why. Why did a play built out of the simple, sacred details of American life fall off the high school radar? Did America move on? Is the country really too different now? Is there ever a way to bring our town back to life? Well, I think that America has many hearts, but she's only got one true heartland if you ask me. And I believe we still crave it. It's in those small towns like Jamestown, Tennessee and Sparta, Tennessee, towns that look ordinary while you fly over them, until you learn, as Wilder insisted, how to really see the people in them. And speaking of seeing things from the outside, this week I'm joined by a co-host who, like so many new Tennesseans these days, didn't grow up here at all. Her outsider's perspective might just help us understand what our town has to say to a changing Tennessee.
Hi, I'm Kristin Benson. I have been teaching English for 12 years. Currently, I teach sophomore and junior English. I really have no theater background, with the exception of teaching multiple plays in my teaching career.
Well, that's the sound of our students you hear hard at work behind us, working on their projects, talking. It feels like the perfect moment for Miss Benson and I to step into this little scene and start our conversation about Thornton Wilder's Our Town. So it's been kind of a hiatus for this show, actually. It's been like weeks since our last one. I meant to do one episode a month, and I'm a month behind now.
Okay.
So anyway, but we're back to Second Stage, and it's supposed to be a show that re-envisions or, reconsiders what works and what doesn't work in the high school classroom as far as plays go. And this week we're discussing an American classic, Thornton Wilder's Our Town. What do you know about Our Town before you read this play? Anything?
Before you handed it to me, I knew little to nothing. I have heard of it, and literally that is it. Like, you'd see it on TV, like little blurbs, like, oh, they're doing a play of Our Town. That's all I knew.
That was all I knew, too. Like, you would see it always, like in a TV show or a movie, the kids are doing a high school play. What are they doing? Our Town.
Yeah.
But I didn't know anything about it other than it was about our town.
Exactly.
But apparently your husband knew it.
Well, I'm questioning that because he told me, he's like, oh, yeah, I know that. There's like a narrator, and it's about a salesman. I'm like, okay. Well, then I read it. I don't think it's about a salesman. So then I brought that up this week to him, and I said, he's like, yeah, about the salesman. I'm like, who was the salesman? So he's not a reliable source.
But he was almost there.
Almost.
He was almost there.
He knew about the stage manager. He called him a narrator, but I mean, he knew that. He walks around and he tells you stuff, and he's part of the play. So he knew something.
So if this were a quiz for John Benson, he earns what? Does he earn a 70?
Oh, I don't think so.
No.
Maybe a minimum 50 for effort, for putting his name on the paper.
But he knew.
Yeah.
What about Thornton Wilder? Like we always tell, a little bit about the background here. And before we hit record, you and I were talking about what little we knew about Thornton Wilder. Did you know anything about him?
Not until you handed me this paper.
Yeah.
I was actually even thinking, is he American? I assumed he was with
right.
our town, but I didn't even know that for sure.
Yeah.
So,
he's an American playwright and novelist. For anybody who's using this podcast for edification in your classroom, great. I would love to hear about that. That would be amazing. You and my mom are like my listeners for this. But yeah, he's an American playwright who's known for experimenting with theatrical form, because this play came out in 1938. And something that I kind of sort of maybe didn't really know about it was how minimalist the stage was whenever it was being performed. Because you always see it, like I said, in these TV shows where the kids are on a high school stage and they've got ladders or they've got little tables and chairs. But honestly, that's how Wilder performed it too. So it's a very minimalist thing. For his day and age, that was pretty avant-garde. That was pretty edgy and out there. But he's also a prize winner, Pulitzer Prize winner. He wrote 2 dramas, Our Town and The Skin of Our Teeth, that both earned the award, but also one for fiction, The Bridge of San Luis Rey. I love watching The West Wing. It's my favorite TV show ever. And one of the characters is referencing somebody who had a heart attack while running for the California 47th, and his name was Thornton Wilder. And the guy stopped and said, Thornton Wilder? He said, no, Thornton Wilder. He said, oh, you know who he is, right? He said, the guy who wrote Skin of Our Teeth. And I've watched this show like 17 billion times, and I started cackling because it's like, I finally get the joke.
yeah, before you're like, huh, who, what?
I didn't get the joke before. But yeah, apparently he's, a well-known American playwright, or at least used to be. And there's the in for my show. This used to be a well-known play, but nowadays we don't see it in the high school classroom so much anymore. Maybe there are schools out there in America that use it. Benson, you come to us from different corners of the country. Where do you come to us from?
Originally from the north, from Wisconsin, and then most recently from Las Vegas, Nevada.
Okay. In any of those school experiences, have you ever known high schools to use Our Town?
No, none of them. Never. And now I wish I would have known about it, because I had a very free curriculum in Nevada, and I absolutely probably would have included it.
Oh, my gosh.
My English 11 class, for sure. There's like a spot for it that I could have put that in there, and it would have been beautiful.
Your English 11 classroom in Vegas was different from your current English 11 classroom. How?
Well, it was all year, for starters, and here we're a semester. And really there, where I was at, there was no curriculum. It was like American Lit, teach it. And there was no textbook. There was nothing. So
no pacing guide, no recommendation. Wow.
Here, teach it. There's a book room over there if you want a book. So a lot of it we had to find online, find digital copies, make our own. The good thing, we had a copy person and we had unlimited copies. So if I could find it, he could copy 500 pages.
Okay.
So,
your classroom also was a lot fuller than these,
40 to 45 kids was. And 6 classes a day. So.
And how long was your class period?
They were regular periods, so probably 50, 55 minutes.
So 50, 55 minutes a day for an entire year with a stacked roster of people.
Yeah, same kids.
Which environment do you think would be more receptive to Our Town? The kids of Sparta, Tennessee, the kids of Las Vegas, Nevada, or the kids of Wisconsin?
The kids of Sparta and Wisconsin I would group together because of what it is. It's your traditional white American small town, and that is where we are. That's where I grew up, and that's where we are. So to me, it brought me back to home. I'm like, I get it. I get these people. Trying to explain that to kids that have grown up in the city, many from different countries, they don't get it. And it's really difficult to build background on small town America when you have nothing near you to show them. And they've never been anywhere.
Were you in city, Las Vegas?
Yeah. There is no suburbs. Everybody's in Las Vegas.
Oh.
But at my school, the one I was at, the majority of my time there was about 2 miles from the Strip.
Oh, wow.
So we were straight up in city and borderline in ghetto.
I really feel like I'm one of the yokels from Grover's Corners right now, hearing about, really, what was it like?
That's how I was when I got there. I was like, dang, look at all these kids.
Country Mouse came to the city to
pretty
teach.
much.
I like
Culture
that.
shock. How do you feel about it? Like culture shock. My town had 2,000 people. Vegas is 1.5 million.
Yeah.
So
How many years were you in Vegas schools?
15.
Oh,
yeah, well, in
wow.
teaching, I should say that we lived there 15 and I taught 10.
Wow. Okay. And then you come to Sparta, and Sparta feels more like Wisconsin
Sparta's like
school.
home. Sparta's more like home.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's much more similar, I would say, to
Okay.
that. Just even the demographics of students we have, the town itself. Sparta's bigger,
Okay.
where I'm from. I mean, my high school class had 60 kids.
That's crazy.
So Sparta's big compared to that.
Wow.
But
Okay. So with your Wisconsin town, was it, since it's so much smaller, did it feel like you definitely knew everybody and knew what was going on in their story?
yeah, 100% knew everybody. And my mom was not born there, but was raised there. My dad was born there. He would be a third generation. So we were related to half the town.
Wow.
So my mom was always joked that she brought fresh blood in so that we weren't related to everybody. We were only related to half the people.
This was not the reason why I picked you for our town, but after I finally opened it up and started reading it, I was like, yes, I picked the right person for our town, because you were a transplant into our town. And then, there's so much of this commonality here. Our town is supposed to be a small town, or at least, a rural kind of universal experience. It's supposed to be a story about, how Johnny Paycheck can be an important person too.
Yeah.
Can you give our readers like a summary of what, pretend they've never read this before. What would you tell them is the story of it?
All right. So it's set in a small town in Grover's Corners in New Hampshire. And it follows the everyday lives of those residents of those people, specifically the Gibbs and Webb families. It's only 3 acts, which surprised me because I actually assumed so much hype about it that it would be longer. And it's really just their daily routines, love and marriage, finally death, and then it actually projects into the afterlife. And one thing, again, I found interesting, and my husband had brought that up too, is the play's stage manager serves as the all-knowing narrator and sometimes participant in the play. So he breaks that fourth wall and commits to life's fleeting beauty.
John Benson, I'm fighting for you, man. I think you deserve better than a 50 on this.
Well, he's going to listen to this and we'll see what he thinks.
I think you were definitely a 70 at least, dude. So you've got the Webbs and the Gibbs. I didn't realize it would be so heavily about 2 families, but it is. And then you've got your stage manager here. Do any of the characters, I mean, obviously we get the stage manager who stands out and whatever, but do any of the characters really stand out to you as like you either really loved or hated them?
I don't think that I hated anybody, and I think it'd be difficult to hate someone in this play because they're all just likable characters. There's not a lot of, there's not really an antagonist.
Yeah.
So I feel, and as far as loved, I don't know that I loved anyone in particular either. Probably like either of the mothers, Mrs. Gibbs or Mrs. Webb's kind of relating to that mother, and then even Emily again, relating to that female, being a young girl and doing well in school, and there's this boy and he's the neighbor. Like, again, I can relate to that.
Yeah.
So
He does give us a balanced cast of guys and girls. That sounds so pejorative. I should do better. Of men and women. But yeah, I do feel like he leads off with the mothers. Mm-hmm. And maybe there's a way for examining this play that it's really about the story of these women. Even in the third act, who does a lot of the memory and the revisitation, but it's the women. Mm-hmm. So Thornton Wilder is giving us a story of small town life, of American heartland through the eyes of women. That's an interesting take. I'm going to steal that for anything I write about this.
Okay, that's what I think. I focused on the men almost to me, and maybe again because I can relate to the women were an afterthought. George here's this little. I almost feel like he's a flat character.
Yeah,
very static, very flat. Where like Emily, and the poor thing, she dies in childbirth, and it's just like what? Like I didn't see that coming at all. It's such this happy-go-lucky for the most part up until that point. And then I'm like, dang, what happened?
Yeah.
And even at the end, George is just seen at her grave, but we kind of forget about it.
Right.
It's like,
well, don't even the characters kind of do that too when they're like, don't look at him?
Who's George? Don't look that way.
So the play was originally done in 1938, but about 1940, they came out with a film version of it. Have you ever seen the film version?
No, I didn't. You mentioned it in the hall one day, but I've not watched it.
I've watched performances before we recorded, but I did not watch the movie version of it. But apparently Hollywood insisted on changing the ending. Emily lives in the ending of the movie.
So what's it about?
It's the same thing, except
But-
she lives.
Well, I feel like that's kind of anticlimactic. I mean, I didn't want her to die, but at the same point, that's anticlimactic.
Hollywood insisted on a happy ending.
Well, that's first.
And Thornton Wilder said, okay, I'm fine with that. He said they would have eventually gotten to the same idea anyway.
I guess. But I feel like without her passing and going back and revisiting ordinary life and these,
Yeah.
these, I don't know how, I don't get how we get the same message.
Yeah. I was really surprised that it was so much of a sadder story than I originally anticipated it being. I thought it was going to be a little bit schmaltzy. I thought it was going to be a little bit of, here's the nostalgia for farmland, heartland, and let me show you the good people and all of this. But really, there was a lot of grief or sadness or just, I don't know, romantic distance in a lot of the people from all three acts.
Yeah, he definitely shows the true struggles of everyday life, which is, again, why I think our kids would really resonate with it, because it's not abstract concepts that they don't deal with.
Right.
It's they can relate to that. It's normal people. There's nobody extraordinarily talented or beautiful. It's just everyday people and their peaks and troughs.
The mothers in the beginning are sitting next door talking to each other while breaking beans and talking about the furniture and being sold and, ooh, what do I do about money? But it quickly becomes I think a genuine conversation of, I have this anticipation I could sell this bureau for all of this money and my husband and I would finally get to travel. But my husband doesn't want to travel and family life, yada, yada, yada. And it winds up being a conversation in the end where they never did travel and that money got handed down. And it feels like I was hit in the heart because I thought, oh man, how many opportunities have you missed with your wife? How many opportunities have you missed with your kid? I felt called to task there. But yeah, they also have conversations about beauty. And the daughter was worried, am I pretty, Mama? And Mama tells her, of course, you're just as pretty as anybody else.
Yeah, just like everybody else around here. You're beautiful.
And how, I used to be beautiful too, next to so-and-so. And I thought, there's a little bit of honesty. There's a little bit of truth. Maybe we aren't just dolling everything up about America here. If you had to say that Thornton Wilder had a goal with this play and you were, I don't know, maybe your 11th grade class asked you, Ms. Benson, what's he trying to do with this play? Why are we reading it? What would you say is a goal of this play?
I think his goal is to give us a picture of that small town, ordinary, everyday life. And the struggles and it's almost the averageness of people. Like when I very first read it and I got to, the end, I'm like, this is it. I'm like, this is what we're doing. Like, why is this so popular? But then the more I sat on it over the last couple of months, I was like, I get it. I think he's trying to really just show that average, ordinary life.
Typically in your 11th grade class, what else are you teaching?
Currently we do The Great Gatsby, my favorite, of Mice and Men, which is usually the kids' favorite. And then we're just going to begin The Crucible.
Okay.
So.
Which are, so Gatsby is technically about, these mythical titans of wealth and all of that. But really, all three of those are about genuine, real people you could see on our level. Gatsby is James Gatz, who is just a guy reinventing himself. And then Lenny and George, how much more down-to-earth real can you get? The people of the Crucible pointing fingers at each other and getting hysterical. The gossip mill. So a text like this probably would fit in.
And I think also we focus a lot on the American dream in English 11, and this, boom, right in there with it. I feel like it ties into different than the others, because all the others, well, not the Crucible, but we'll say of Mice and Men and Gatsby are chasing this dream. Well, these people in some respects are living it.
Oh, what do you mean by that?
Because, well, you've got basically nuclear families. You've got, mom, dad, kids. The parents have good careers. Moms are, stay-at-home moms, but the one father is the publisher for the newspaper. The other one is a local physician. They've got, healthy families for the most part. I mean, we do see some death, but they appear to be cared for. They love each other. White picket fence, 2 dogs. I feel like it's that traditional American dream, what people really came here for before we got carried away with becoming millionaires and having Ferraris and those types of things.
So while everybody else in Gatsby Gatsby is chasing the American dream of everybody can be rich, everybody can be president, everybody can be whatever. These characters are actually living it.
I feel that they are. And I think that's why when I think of our European ancestors who came here, they wanted better jobs. They wanted their own home. They wanted a yard. They wanted to have children that could, grow up in America, go to school. And I feel like these people are doing that.
That's a pretty cool take on this. When you consider the characters, I think one of the ones that stands out for me is the stage manager. Do you have any, I don't know, like, dislike, take, anything on the stage manager? Like, if you were doing this in your classroom and a kid were reading it, or if you were going to, I don't know, let's practice like standing like the stage manager or whatever. Like, do you have any take on him?
I like the stage manager in the fact that he, especially from a teaching perspective, he gives us between the lines. The kids don't need to necessarily read between the lines. And especially when we read them in class, a lot of times it's difficult to visualize. With this, he kind of paints the picture for us. So I like him for that reason. And honestly, and this is the controller freak in me, I would like to be the stage manager if we read it in class, because I want to show him everything. And you're going to sit and watch and you're going to enjoy it.
I didn't think about it until just now when you said that. But yeah, if we were doing this in the classroom, you are the stage manager.
Oh, that's true.
You are framing everything for them. The stage manager even gets to tell them sometimes, thank you, ladies. We've had enough from you. Let's go to somebody else.
Yeah, go sit down. Be quiet.
Go sit down.
Maybe that's why he's like my alter ego.
I think he is supposed to be a voice like that. It's weird in how he has insights into people's lives, so he knows all of these folks, and yet he never really, as the stage manager, interacts with them. He sometimes adopts other character clothes, like maybe he'll appear as the guy doing George and Emily's wedding. Sometimes he's like at the soda fountain. So it's like he's sometimes a background character, but he knows everybody. And what a godlike perspective.
Yeah, that's very true. He kind of reminds me somewhat of even the fly on the wall to some extent, but then he also shares with us what he knows. It's almost like the little lady in the background, He's very observant, very much watching, and then he spills his guts.
Yeah, right. To just the trusted ones in the audience.
Yeah,
he doesn't do it to everybody else in town.
That's true. And he kind of brings the audience in that way. You become part of the play because, he's confiding in you.
He looks right through that fourth wall at us.
Yeah, he gives you the tea.
Benson, he is the teacher in this. He is the teacher in using this in the classroom because he's going to tell all the other teachers what you need to know about that kid there.
About that kid, yeah. And then I'm wondering, do you think he's judging them too to give you the tea?
Well, what do you think? Does he speak from a place of judgment?
That's what I'm trying to decide. I didn't think of it till right now, and that's how I don't know. I think mostly no. I don't know. I feel like he's at the same point, he's got a personality. So, he's got some personal inflection on it.
I think he definitely values them as a people and as a culture because he is speaking with an authority about something that he just seems to love. He talks about the environment. He talks about the dawn. He seems to have an admiration for the guy who gets up with the 5:45 train, and here comes Mr. Webb, and here comes Dr. Gibbs, and here comes all of them. Like, he seems to have a fatherly kind of connection to them. But then every now and then he talks about death, and there does seem to be a dispassion for what he says. Like when he's talking about the boy delivering newspapers in Act 1, there's like this neat little interaction where it's like, oh, is it going to rain today? You busted your arm. Does it always tell? Is it ever wrong? And when the boy walks away, the stage manager looks at us in the audience and says how that kid wanted to grow up and go to the university, and he trained and he did all this. But then the First World War came around and took him, and he died 17. And then he just moves on with life. And it was like...
You're like, dang. I know. It's kind of like it gets you. And then you're like, okay, we're moving on.
Thanks. So, yeah, there's like a dispassionate kind of look at human life. But I don't know that he ever gets into any cruelty.
No, I don't think so. He's never like, oh, did you look at that, George Gibbs and did he do, bad in school or anything? We don't get any of that from him or any like gossip,
Yeah. Even when characters are gossiping about whatever, he doesn't seem to have anything like that. Maybe it's a little bit patronizing sometimes if you look at it through that lens, but it does seem to be like a fatherly kind of appreciation for. Mm-hmm. So I had a few lines that I thought, were really cool lines. Even if you don't have any favorite lines, Do you have any favorite parts that you would definitely want to talk about with a class?
I like the part, and I don't know why, I can't even explain it, but where George and Emily, where they're looking in the bedrooms and they're each doing their homework and they can see each other again. I don't know, it just makes a connection with me. I feel like maybe because it's that stereotypical, neighbor boy and girl, and they're going to get together.
Yeah.
It's only a matter of time. They don't know it, but we know it.
Yeah.
So I think I like that part a lot, and just kind of how they grow up together, that they're just friends, and all of a sudden it gets like awkward, and then they're in love.
But you can see it from a distance, and
Oh yeah, it's stereotypical. I feel
Right.
like it's very stereotypical. We know that's going to happen. We see it across all mediums and TV, movies. It's coming. It's like a Christmas movie. You know what's coming.
I was watching a stage performance of this, and that part reminded me of an experience I had in high school when I was at work, and a girl that I had a crush on came through the drive-through window, and I was talking to her and yada, yada. When she drove away, the next car to come up was an old man, and the first words out of his mouth were, "Oh, young love."
Exactly.
And I was just like, what are you even talking about? You're not listening. He's like, you could just see it a mile away.
Oh, no.
But that was George and Emily right
Yes,
there.
I think so. And I think George knows it before she does. But I think
Yeah.
it might be the culture of the time, too. Girls would never pursue a boy or
Yeah.
anything. But he does. And I think her mom knows it before
Oh,
she.
yeah.
The mom definitely. Her mom for sure. Mrs. Webb is definitely knows.
It's Act 2 when they have the conversation. Is it Act 2 or Act 3? It's Act 2
Act
when
2,
they have the
'cause, yeah.
conversation.
Yes.
Because they're in the soda shop and they're talking about things, and it gets real serious. And then George and Emily both realize, oh, we're in love.
Yeah.
And he says, I guess we've been having an important conversation, haven't we? So, yeah, you see that coming a mile away. I was trying to remember, the quote kept coming up over and over, that life is meant to be lived 2 by 2. And it kind of had a sing-songiness. It's just one of those lines that for me stuck in my head. And I thought, okay, that's some catchy writing right there. And even if, like, whatever people's thoughts on relationships are, I think it speaks to the idea that we're not meant to live life alone, that mankind hates living alone. We hate this being in isolation of one another. It drives us mad. And even if people are in isolation, they tend to, like in the movie Castaway, he creates Wilson. I need somebody to talk
yes.
to and share this experience with. So for me, that really stood out. Oh, and there was another one. And now that I don't, oh, yeah. Where they ask in the third act, because by the third act, we're all sitting at a funeral. And it was a weird staging of it, too, because all the chairs are laid out and the people who are dead are sitting in them as if these are the spirits, these are the dead in the cemetery. And we're watching the grave, the funeral come in to the grave. And we start to get this reflection on what was the value of life, even if it was just like looking up and admiring the beauty of the stars. And one of the characters asks, do any human beings ever realize life while they live it? Every minute. And the stage manager just kind of looks at them with this stern look and says, no, they don't.
Yeah.
He says maybe poets, maybe some philosophers, maybe some people do every now and then they hit on it, but no, they don't. What do you think? Do people have an appreciation for life?
Big picture, no. We're too busy. We're too busy running to school, running to work, running to sports, doing our homework, all the things. I think we don't. And I think it'll hit you once in a while, maybe when someone does pass away or you read something like that, maybe for a short while, but then old habits, you go back to that busyness. So I think we forget. Sometimes I think we forget to live in general.
Yeah.
Because we're so busy, it's almost like checking off the things.
I don't know about you, but it, again, made me feel called out.
A little bit, yeah, a little bit. I can see it too.
I felt guilty. I had just finished this play, and then the next day I had finished a workout in my garage, and I was sitting in this camp chair in my garage looking out the door, and the clouds were passing by, and it was so beautiful, and I thought they are really booking it. And I was instantly reminded, Jason, when you were a kid, you used to lie in the yard and look up at clouds. When was the last time you did that?
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, does Jason Crockett ever realize life every minute? And there's the stage manager going, no, you don't, boy.
No, there's no way.
You need to appreciate it.
Well, and the thing is, sadly, I don't know, in our culture, our society, I don't think it's realistic. I mean,
Right?
how can you? And even like I'm thinking teaching, we're so busy, so many decisions. It's not like in that minute I can stop like, gosh, gosh, here I am with my students and I'm living. I don't have time for that.
Yeah.
You know, it's tough.
So what do we do about it?
Quit, retire, move to the Caribbean, buy a boat.
Because then I can afford to. Then I can sit around and do that.
Someday.
But that whole someday attitude never shows up for a lot of us.
Right.
Because the mother in the story, she apparently does sell the dresser, the furniture, and she collects her $350. But, I mean, she never spends it on a trip.
No, she wanted to go to Paris. She never gets to go.
It just made me think, oh, golly, Jason, what if at the end of your life, it'll be just like shutting off the lights. You're just going to be done. But the people who are left behind are going to be thinking, did we ever take that trip? Did we ever do that? And it was a real heavy thought. Mm-hmm. This play is a lot heavier than I thought it was going to be.
Yes.
And they perform this in high schools.
Yeah. But then I wonder how many high school kids can appreciate it like we do. I think they get it. I think they like it. But are they at 17? Would you have picked up on those things? And even if I told you that, would you be like, oh, yeah, this, I don't know if kids, they're so young.
I don't know,
carefree.
because this kind of fits into that next section, too, of like, why is it rare in high school classrooms, but also why should it be in classrooms? I think a lot of the time, our number one answer for these is probably going to be, why does it not get used in the classroom? We just don't have time.
Yeah.
There's competition for other things. But that's a really valid point to bring up, too. Do you think teenagers, let's say juniors and seniors in 2025, can they have an appreciation for the heaviness, the sadness, the gravitas of this?
I feel like maybe not. Part of it, too, is they're really desensitized to death in our, they hear shootings and murders and, suicides, all these things. They're, even when we read Gatsby, at the end, he gets shot by Wilson and they're like, okay, close the book. I'm like,
yeah.
What?
Right.
Like, so I'm not sure that they would get the heaviness of it as much. I still think it would be a good play for them. I think they'd really get the concepts, but I think a lot of that depth, again, I don't know that they would appreciate it. Like they do.
On the other hand, if I'm advocating for why I think it should still be in the classroom, I would use your same answer that you just gave. I mean, we teach Gatsby, and we show this man who is, doing his best to make time happen all over again. He is getting a massive fortune and losing it all, trying to get that girl from way back when to finally love him, and she's never going to love him. Well, why do we teach that in the classroom? Hopefully, they can appreciate that. So hopefully they could appreciate some of the sadness and joy of American small town.
I feel like it's one of those things where, like, I love Gatsby, and I think I would really like to teach this, where I can project that onto them a little bit, which maybe is not a good thing, but just being like, look at this, like, think about the life, think about death, think about, your average, ordinary, life. When Emily picks a day to go back, her mother-in-law tells her, don't pick something, crazy. Don't pick your wedding or anything. Pick an ordinary day or something not super trivial. At first I'm like, really? Why? Wouldn't you want to pick, like, I don't know, your wedding day or, something amazing? And then she tells her, and she also tells her that you're going to regret it. Don't go back. Don't pick it.
But doesn't that also fit into a reason of why we should use this in the classroom? Because how many times do you can always tell a teenager, you just can't tell them much.
Yes.
Make good choices. Don't do this. Do that. And we're always telling them, but do they always listen to the best advice? No.
And I think this would be good. I don't think it would fall on deaf ears. I think they would like it. I think they would get it. It ties into my American dream, theory.
Yeah.
A lot. I think it should be taught more in schools. It kind of, and like the kids really like Of Mice and Men because they can relate to it, and it's simpler knowledge, like language, and it's simpler concepts, and they like that because they sometimes struggle with Shakespeare and some of those things just because of the language. So.
Yeah. When did you first read Gatsby? Can you remember? Was it high school? Was it adulthood?
No, I was an adult. I was teaching. I had to teach it.
Okay.
And I was familiar with it, but it wasn't in high school or college. And so I had to teach it. And the first I taught it 5 times a day and, read it first. So the first go around, it was kind of like, okay, I can do this. This is fine. I get it. Well, the more you read it, the more you get into it. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing.
Yeah.
But it's, by the 5th time that day, I'm like, oh, dang. So, it took me 5 periods to figure out the book, but at the end. But I think, too, you appreciate it more when you're teaching it. I do.
Yeah.
I get into them more when we're teaching it. Like, there are things maybe I didn't like as a student, but when I teach it now, I love it.
Yeah.
Like Hamlet's an example. I could care less about Hamlet, but teaching it, I'm like, oh, I love Hamlet. Like,
right. Yeah. I have an idea that Gatsby may be a completely different book or maybe a better book for a person when they're 30 than they are when they're 15.
Probably.
Because everybody can get the whole, like, we always frame it, high school kids and parties and the popular class and all of that. So they can get that. But there's also the whole aspect of wishing you could live your life over and wishing you could do things better. And that's Gatsby in this dream. And this whole, I feel like maybe I've lived my life wrong. I feel like I'm within and without, that I don't really fit in with the group that I thought I did. And am I ever really going to? Like, maybe Gatsby's just a better book for people in their 30s, but they can get it.
Yeah, and that may be it too, because like you can look back and you can look at those turning points in your life. If I wouldn't have done this, none of these other things would have happened. If I wouldn't have taken a certain job, I wouldn't have met my husband. That would have been the
right.
If I would have gone to college somewhere else, I wouldn't have met him. All these different turns you can look at to see that's where it got me. Well, at 17, you don't have that. You didn't really make any choices yet. Your parents parked you here and you're going to school. So it's hard to go back and be like, what could have been, or how could I have done this differently? Yeah. If I'd have gone here, what would my life look like? They don't have that ability.
Right. It is a cool play for being able to give kids an intro into appreciation for regular everyday life, sadness in relationships, all of that. So maybe it is worth using. If you had to look at your junior pacing guide, do you have room now to fit it in, or would you have to cut something?
I'd have to look more closely. I would like to think, because I don't think this play would take too terribly long.
No.
A couple weeks maybe.
Yeah.
So I think I could get it in. I would probably have to shorten some things, and maybe that's okay. This might be more beneficial to shorten some things and to get this in, because I do again, it ties into the American Dream Unit, and I think the kids would really like it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a big thing. It's just it's something that they like, because there's so much that they balk at.
You could entice them with some trivia. I have trivia written on here.
I know, I'm nervous about trivia.
I've not done this segment in any other show.
Great, thanks.
But I found some things because I found out there that there was a suggestion that Our Town is the kind of play that should be used in astronaut training to prompt reflection on perspective and humanity. And somebody out there on the very untrustworthy internet suggested that it had been used in astronaut training. It has not. I've been trying to track that down. I think that's a lie. But if there's any astronauts that want to email me, I can give you my email. But yeah, it is a great play for, getting perspective, like a godlike view or a bird's eye view on a town. It's minimalist structure, influences works like Waiting for Godot and The Glass Menagerie. Great. Trivia. Eleanor Roosevelt was moved and depressed by watching Our Town. She had apparently written a newspaper column called My Day from 35 to 62. And in the column, she discussed issues of the day, and she just gave her own details about life. And in March 1938, she wrote about a trip to a theater in which she saw Our Town. And the quote is, "I was moved and depressed beyond words. I'm glad I saw it, but I did not have a pleasant evening."
That actually kind of surprises me. I don't think it's that depressing. But again, maybe we're desensitized, in our culture. But
maybe.
I think that's kind of dramatic, Eleanor. Like, you need to chill out.
A part of me also gets it, too, because I was like, I thought that this was going to be real, nostalgic for American small town. And every single act has some seriousness to it.
Somebody dies.
I mean, even the third act, when she gets to see her own funeral and am I going to relive my life? Like, that was heavy. Mm-hmm. The coordinates, the stage manager in Act 1 gives coordinates for where you can find Grover's Corners. He says it's in New Hampshire. He says that you can find it, along the mountains and everything. That's a lie. Those coordinates, if you type them in, put this into the Atlantic Ocean. It's right off the coast, but it's in the Atlantic Ocean. And I don't know if Wilder meant to do that or not. Mm-hmm. Somebody suggested, it means that it's not exactly one where, it's everywhere.
But that may also be giving too much credit.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking too, maybe their mapping just wasn't that good back then. And
Right.
so maybe that was it.
And then there's references to money that are in here. And it made me think, I wonder, what that's like now. Because the play is supposed to be in 1903, 1904, and then there's like 1913, right? Mm-hmm. George gets mad at his sister. In 1901, he says that his allowance is 25 cents a week. But like 25 cents a week, George gets in 1901. That would be like $10 now. Mm-hmm. And then he gets mad at his sister and says, well, she's got like a whole dollar saved up. That would be more than like $36 now. Mm-hmm. So it would be another thing to look at your sister and say, well, she's got, $36 saved up. Okay. But George, you're also almost a grown man. What are you doing complaining at your sister?
Yeah.
The secondhand furniture man offers $350 for Grandmother Hershey's Highboy. That would be like offering $12,700 today.
Yeah, that does seem a little steep, doesn't it?
Would you sell Grandma's furniture for $12,000?
Only if I had to.
Oh, really? You'd be that keepy about it?
Well, I guess it depends on the furniture. I don't know. I'm not that keepy about it, but I don't know. I really don't. I'd have to see it. I don't know. It depends with Grandma. I guess there's something to that.
I'm also not judging because you can look at my classroom and clearly I'm a hoarder.
Yeah. I'm usually the opposite, but there are certain part of it's my mother would be all over me about it.
Oh,
so.
I get that. But $12,000.
That's a lot of money.
Would you be able, what would you spend it on? Like, what kind of trip could you do for $12,000 now?
I don't know.
If you and John were going to have a trip and you've got $12,000.
I don't know. Can we go to Europe on that?
You can. Yeah. You could do a Europe trip on that.
If I could leave the kids home, I would probably go to Europe.
For two of you, the airfare is going to eat up a lot of it. But you could do, a Europe trip.
Yeah, we're doing a cruise over Christmas, but all four of us, and that's like $15,000.
Yeah.
I'm with the airfare and everything. So
right.
I don't know. But I got 2 drivers coming up. I need to buy cars. So I might have to put it towards the cars.
This is going to be our town part 2, buying cars for the kids.
Yep.
I was going to tell you that as well. Like, I thought that this would be a really cool exercise to dig back through old yearbooks. Because one of the things in the play, it talks about how, these people lived here, but then by 10 years later, they've gone. You've got these people who live in this corner of town, this corner of town, this corner of town. But by later decades, now we've got cars instead of horse and buggies. It just made me think about the chapters of time and how this chapter doesn't really know that chapter and doesn't really know the one that comes after it.
Yeah.
But when you look from the stage manager's perspective, we're all in the same book. Mm-hmm. And you currently teach out of which classroom?
102.
I was going to say, do you know your number?
I was like, I wasn't sure the context of that question. I was like, the one down the hall?
Yeah, right. You currently teach out of 102. But 10 years ago, that used to be somebody else's classroom. And 10 years before that, that was somebody else's classroom. And 10 years from now, will it still be your classroom?
God, I hope not.
And then 20 years from now.
Definitely not
right?
then.
It also made me think, if Jason Crockett died today, okay, we'd be real sad. But a week from now, 2 days from now, they're going to be finding somebody else to fill my class. Mm-hmm. And let's say that they get a replacement teacher. By January, this room's going to look different. Mm-hmm. And we're all temporary.
Yeah.
We're all so temporary, and we only get this one time to impact and, do whatever. But still, even on the long enough timeline, we're all threads in the same tapestry. That was one of my ideas for teaching it. Mm-hmm. I always want to ask, if we're going to teach it, what ideas do you have for teaching it? And I kind of wanted to use this in a class where we could do a wall thing out in the hallway for our town, but it really be about our town. Mm-hmm. And you could do a modified timeline where along the top, you have your kids do a timeline for events in the play as far as Grover's Corners. But on the bottom half of the timeline, it's about us here in Sparta. Mm-hmm. And back in 1913, what was going on here? Or in 1901, in 1975, in 19 whatever. What are these events that are going on in real people's lives back then?
Yeah.
How can your kids be like the stage manager?
Yeah, I'm going to tie into that. That's a really cool idea.
Do you have any ideas for teaching it? Do you have anything that you'd want to do with it?
Well, you kind of gave me an idea, but I didn't get very far with it. But
Okay.
again, like a cumulative end of unit project somehow. How are we all included? And I'm thinking even kids maybe from their own families bringing in something like an artifact or something, and somehow collectively. But I just thought of it, so I don't have a full idea of it. But I think that would be cool again to show how we're all connected. Somehow.
Oh, yeah.
Or like a hexagonal thinking, but with like real, or
Yes.
something, on those lines. I think would be really cool to kind of again how we're all connected. Even some of the kids who are, I'm not from here, but how do we tie in, or maybe what's our contributions?
Oh, that's a
somehow
good
for, like,
idea.
Future generations, like what are we contributing, or I don't know. I feel like something like again, kind of like a collective, kind of project would be really cool with it. But
I kind of want to take that idea for hexagonal thinking and run with it now, and like, okay, what are the hexagons going to be like about? Because they would have to be like bigger picture things that we can each on a side connect to, right?
Yeah. And then I'm thinking if you did it for so maybe each kid has, say, 5 hexagons on whatever they choose for themselves. And then we try to, as a group, or maybe in small groups, if your classes are big, connect all the hexagons to mine connect with yours and plug them in like a puzzle.
Oh, that's a good idea.
That would be kind of fun. And I think it ties back to the story. And you could even do it one for the story also. How are they all connected? And then how are we all connected?
Right.
If you had a lot of time.
That is something that I always have to take myself to task for. Is we can do posters like the Coach Brad thing in the hallway and everything, but we also have to write about it. Because we're asking the hard questions and we're having the hard conversations. So like we have to read about it, talk about it,
and write about it. Well, we could actually, the hexagonal thinking, then they would write about it at the end.
Yeah.
They would have to do even just like a quick write or like a races, but of how that all ties in, or how do they all tie in.
That's a really good idea.
I mean, everybody's answers would be different to some extent, but
because that is the play. Like we are all individuals in this town, and yet my life is still connected to yours and yours and yours, even if they're Baptists or Catholics, if they're from New Hampshire or from wherever. Like we all connect. I wanted to do something about that. I also wanted to do something. I just thought of this today. Coach Haston is in charge of our yearbook and journalism program. And when I was in his classroom talking to him, I saw all the old yearbooks on the shelf. And I immediately thought, yes, there it is. That's our town. That's our school. That's our town. And if you could get kids to look at old yearbooks, he has one on the shelf from 1913.
Oh, wow.
Which is Act 3 of the book.
Yeah.
And I thought, what if we had them look at what was our high school like in 1913 and like see yourself in those kids?
Yeah. And then I wondered if you can parallel it with the play somehow.
Yeah.
Or like even assign people somehow to the play.
Oh,
or
that's a good
connections.
idea. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure how. I mean, definitely, I think you'd have to take some liberties with the play to do that.
Yeah.
But I think that would be kind of interesting too. Like connecting the two together, like real life versus this fictitious town, which is very much real, even though it's fictitious. It could be a real town.
I want to know how they would write Our Town Part 2 if it were Sparta, Tennessee. How would they write it if it were about White County High School? How would they write it if it were about that? I had a creative writing class one time. It was such a cool class, and I was given it one time, I think, as like an I'm sorry kind of thing. So I was given 1 year with a creative writing class. One of the exercises, we had all the old graduating classes on the wall. It used to be down the hallway. You saw all the big picture collages of every graduating class. And we had old ones going back to the 20s. And I took the kids all the way down the band hallway, and I picked one graduating class, and kind of like in Dead Poets Society, how he has them look at these old generations and said every one of them was your age. They were all like the same kind of passion, the same kind of heartbeat, the same kind of, I love this, I'm afraid of that. They were old to you, but really they were your age. And so I had them pick one person and write like a character sketch about that person. Cool. So that would be kind of like a neat bridge into our town. Like how could you like hexagonally get them to see these people or look at a yearbook of it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like in an AP classroom, I don't know again that I would ever have time to have it in a one semester AP classroom. But I always have to look at the writing process of the teaching of the FRQs. And one of my ideas was like having them consider the stage manager's role as both narrator, but also he's like a playwright figure, and they have to write a response that talks about how he frames everything that goes on in the play. One of our major essay number 2 was just about picking a literary work and discussing its structure and style, like stylistic choices. So we could do that. There was also Mary Oliver. Are you familiar with her poetry?
Yeah, I've taught some of hers to the sophomores.
You and Miss Ferris both you love her, right?
Ferris loves her.
Loves her.
I coattail
Okay.
Ferris on that one. So this year, in fact, I didn't do it. Not that but my practicum student did. So.
Okay. I am like almost 0% familiar with using her work in the classroom. But I remember one of our guidance counselors loves her. Ferris loves her. You have
I'm
used
indifferent.
her. Are indifferent to her. But one of the suggestions I found online was talking about if you're trying to get at the normality of life and an appreciation for the simplicity of people in life, like paralleling it with a Mary Oliver poem. And that was one that I had found that I gave you a copy of. Who Made the World, Who Made the Swan and the Black Bear, Who Made the Grasshopper. Like, it's just an examination of these simple things in life. And that's what the play's about, too. So that could be a simple thing, a neat thing to do.
Yeah, I can see that, having them do something kind of ordinary and make it into something.
Yeah. I also, the invisible stage activity that I had written down on here, I thought that might be a neat way of getting kids up and active out of their seats because so much of the play is minimalist. You watch the mothers in Act 1 as they're getting the house ready and they're having to mime feeding firewood to a stove, or the delivery man's having to mime petting the horse and moving around. So maybe you could have the kids get up and mime, okay, how are you going to do this? How are you going to do that? And I told you in the hallway the other day how my limited time of having acting classes at Tech, I was in a 3-person scene and we were supposed to be woodcutters chopping at a tree. And we were saying our lines and doing the chopping. And our director, Mark Creeder, stopped us, yelling at us, saying, no, none of you, except Crockett. Looks like he knows what he's doing with an axe. Crockett looks like he's the only one who's ever hit a person with an axe. And I thought, oh, do I know? I do know how to hold an axe. I've used one. But miming, like having to think about how do you do this? How do you show these activities with no other stage?
Makes me think even like an introduction to that, like a game of charades.
Oh, that's a really cool idea.
Something, again, groups or whole class or whatever, but giving them here's this activity, work it out in groups of 2 or 3, and everyone tries to guess what they're doing.
Oh, I'm going to steal that for the next time I teach like Macbeth or something like that. That's a good idea too. A minimalist Macbeth could work. So that's a cool idea.
Oh yeah, especially in there, just, definitely. I was thinking, no, Macbeth is with the 3 sisters and Stern.
Yeah.
I had the wrong play
yeah.
from it. But yeah, I'm thinking, you got up there, you're
right.
toil.
Well, Shakespeare has to be minimalist too, because his Globe Theater was during the daytime. And I mean, you've got a stage and you can do some scenery and costumes, but really, like his Elizabethan actors were wearing Elizabethan outfits. They were not dressing up in togas like Julius Caesar.
Right. And then they were all men or
and
boys.
all men,
so they're
right.
playing female parts. So
you really have to pay attention to these activities.
Yeah, a lot of actions. And sometimes I think when we read these plays in the classroom, that's where the kids get lost, is because they're not seeing even if you read them, the stage directions, they're not getting that visual. So
it just reminds me of another time where in an acting class at Tech, I had to do a monologue. And I was given something from a Shakespeare play. It was, It was where the prologue for Romeo and Juliet and how do you deliver that. And I remember that I delivered it the first time or two with arms moving around and I was gesticulating and I was pointing to a side and pointing to a side. And that was the big criticism, is put your hands down and just say the lines. Oh. And what a Hamlet thing to say, too, of speak the speech, I pray you, just say it without overacting.
Stop it.
But yeah, that works with this, too, because you got to think about, how you act these things. How can you be in the moment without overacting these things, too? So on a scale of 1 to 5, let's say. Is that a good read score?
5, yeah.
Is that 5?
I think so, yeah.
What would you rate it?
For reading it or for teaching it?
Anything,
I would give it a 4.
Okay.
I'd give it a solid 4 just because it's hard to get a 5, I think. But
I agree.
It's good. It's solid. It's entertaining. I think it'd be good to teach. I think kids would learn something.
Yeah.
So.
I am in the same exact boat. I think personally I'm like a high 4, and it might be because I've reread it a couple of times because we've had to reschedule
Yeah.
before getting this. So I've gotten closer to it. It's like what you were saying about teaching Gatsby. The more you teach it, the more you love it.
Yeah.
So I think the more I've read it, the more I've been like, oh yeah, I really get this. But I'm like a high 4 for it. How likely are you to use it in a classroom, 1 to 5?
If I could make it work, I would say, again, a 3 to a 4.
Yeah.
I would like to build a curriculum around it. I think it would be good.
Well, as your department chair, I would like to see what you come up with.
Okay, good. If I can have an English 11 section again next year, I will see what I can do. If I don't get one, then
I always tell people, we have our pacing guides. They are a guideline to start with, but I also want to see what you can do in the classroom. So if there was ever anything like this or something else that you're like, I really think we ought to give this a swing, I would love to see that too. Did you see any productions of it?
No.
Or anything? So I watched a couple YouTube versions of this. One was from 1982 or 83, and it was like a made-for-TV one, and it had Hal Linden and some other very recognizable early 80s people. I did not like it.
Okay.
They were all... So it was that whole early 80s, late 70s thing where Hal Linden is sitting in front of the camera, and then they've got this bad camera exposure behind him showing another corner of the stage, and it's like, ugh, that just looks
Sounds
bad.
kind of cheesy.
Probably for 83 it was okay or whatever, but it felt very cheesy.
Yeah.
But then I think that there was a 2003 version that had Paul Newman as the stage manager, and I thought, Paul Newman, okay, well that's some gravitas. I can do Paul Newman.
Yeah.
And it was pretty good. I think that was the best one that I liked.
Okay.
There's also the 1940 film version with William Holden and Martha Scott, who apparently tried out for Melanie in Gone with the Wind and got turned down. She didn't have a good reading for it. So then she got put into this, and then people were like, about it as well.
Yeah.
And another recommendation I've seen is the 2010 Broadway version that had Helen Hunt in it, which I like Helen Hunt.
Yeah.
I haven't seen
What
this
character?
one yet.
Do you know what character she
I think she's one of the mothers.
That's what I
right?
assumed. I was just curious.
But I don't know which one. I have to find it, and I don't think I saw it on YouTube. And I'm sure there's plenty of high school versions that are taped and out there.
I'm sure.
Which I'm not rushing to go find. Also, I saw where in Cookeville, sometime in the next 6 months, Our Town's going to be performed.
Oh.
I think it's going to be at CPAC in Cookeville.
Nice. Oh, that's cool.
So I don't know.
trip.
Well, we got to do a field trip now. Now we got to read about it. Read about it, talk about it, write about it, and watch it.
We're going to go watch it.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you being here.
Of course.
Do you have any recommendations of plays you think we should talk about in the future?
One of my favorites that I had taught in Vegas that I have not been able to teach here, which might be cool, is Raisin in the Sun.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
there's a good movie with it too.
Yes.
Sydney Poitier, isn't it?
Okay, so maybe before Christmas, you, me, and Miss Hunter, because she also brought that one
she
up.
did?
We
Okay.
should do a 3-person
That'd be
review
fun.
of it.
I haven't read it. I'll need to reread it. It's been a few years, but I taught it for 6 or 7 years. So.
Okay, 6-7 years. How about
Oh yeah,
that?
look at that. That's how it's 6-7.
I hate myself.
Look what you've become.
What have I become? The stage manager's looking with disdain upon me right now.
He's judging.
He's like, all right, thank you, Crockett. Next.
We've heard enough from you.
We've heard enough from you. Second Stage is a Free Zone Radio production, recorded in Sparta, Tennessee. If you enjoyed the show, please give it a like, share it, subscribe for more. Word of mouth is the best advertising. And if you want to hear more, look up our other podcast with honors, now in its newest season, and our brother podcasts, A Dead Man's Books and Haston Curation. You can find them on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, wherever you consume great podcasts.
Hey everyone, my name is Drew, and I want to talk to you about my show, A Dead Man's Books. The show was created with the mindset of whenever I pass away, as morbidly as that sounds, that my children would inherit my books. And of all the things that I'm going to pass down to them, I think that that's the one thing that I want them to make sure that they keep and go through on their own time. But I want to be there next to them whenever they read these things. And so I created a podcast so that they could go back and listen to me and my friends and other people as we read through these books and what we had to think about it. But it's grown to so much more. We've got authors we interview. We talk about everyday life. We talk about how literature connects to life. All of those things in one place. And now we want you to come along with us and join us. This is a podcast not just for my kids, but for everyone who loves to read, everyone who loves a good story, everyone who's a parent, everyone who's a teacher, everyone who just enjoys literature. This is a place to come. So come join us every Monday on A Dead Man's Books.